Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Look, I want to go back to something that my colleague, Mr. Gates, was talking about that you responded where he asked, do you think this is going on anywhere else in the actual forces? Your comment was, I don't think it's happening in other places in the Army. Think. But you don't know for certain, do you? Because you allowed this to go on for almost 7 years, correct?
I can't look you in the eye and guarantee that it's not happening in other locations. At this time, we have no information to suggest improperly prepared anti-terrorism materials are being used anywhere else in the Army.
So we hear it right here, Mr. Chairman. He's literally saying that we have no idea whether or not it's going on in other locations in the Army. We have no idea whether or not this is continuing as it has for 7+ years. It's almost like Lucy and the football, where they're essentially just going ahead and saying, well, we found it in this location after 7+ years and 10,000 soldiers, but we're unaware if it's still going on in other locations because we haven't done our jobs to ensure that it's not. Look, I'm a non-commissioned officer from the United States military. I served in the Army proudly, and I'm grateful for your service. But you're sitting here running a political game, making comments like, well, I can't talk about the chain of command. Okay, fine. We're not asking to dox the individuals, to ask for the names of the commanders, to say exactly what the overarching goal or what has been happened, whether they were demoted, whether there was some type of removal command. But can you at least answer whether or not UCMJ action has at least taken place for those to be held responsible?
Representative, on the training conduct, I'm 100% confident in the Army chain of command across all Army organizations that they work diligently every day to produce the right training outcomes for each of their missions.
But yet you don't know whether or not it's actually being implemented, as we didn't know what was being trained for 7+ years, correct?
Again, my confidence in the Army chain of command across the entire globe is unwavering.
Well, and I ask again, as all my colleagues have tried to ask for these answers, this is a bipartisan request from Congress who funds our national defense. Are you aware of any UCMJ action being utilized to ensure not corrective training action? That's not holding someone accountable. Let's just be clear. When I was a non-commissioned officer and I smoked someone for basically making a mistake and had them push or flutter kick the whole time, I called that corrective action, but that's not to the severity of what we're discussing here, where 10,000 soldiers were literally trained that being pro-life is an extremist act. So is there or is there not any UCMJ action which has been held? And I don't want the political rhetoric of saying this is a chain of command issue, because you, sir, are above that chain of command at the end of the day. You wear those stars proudly on your shoulders that you've earned to ensure the oversight and the actual leading of our troops. Is that not correct?
Representative, I've been a commander many times. I'm not currently in the chain of command or a commander.
But do you know whether or not UCMJ action was utilized?
Representative,
are you aware of that knowledge?
I've made it clear that I'm not going to comment on those.
So then what's the point, Mr. Chairman, in having these hearings if we don't even have someone who's willing to testify to give us the answers? This is completely pointless, sir. I'll be honest with you. I don't think you're deserving of a 4 star, given the fact that you can't even come before Congress to ensure that we have accountability and oversight. That is a key and critical thing. My young corporals and E5s know that. Unbelievable. You stated that the training conducted at Fort Bragg, claiming pro-life groups are extremists, was inaccurate. However, this training was somehow conducted for 7 years before any oversight was exercised. How do you plan to implement oversight or a policy for oversight moving forward?
The training was conducted at Fort Liberty. It was a very long period.
It'll always be Fort Bragg to me.
And that length of time is almost unexplainable. I'm confident that if this issue had been identified at any point during that period of time, the Army would have taken immediate corrective action like we did.
But here's my problem. How can the Army properly define what is extremist when the DoD education activity requires students and staff to be educated on radical racial and sexual ideas, while TRICARE limits a parent's ability to view their children's medical records and allows children to receive bodily mutilation or abortion services without parental consent or notification?
Representative, again, on the training that was conducted at Fort Liberty, no excuse for the poor quality of that.
Mr.
training.
Chairman, we're clearly not going to go anywhere here. So with that, I yield back.
Rep. Takuda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'll try to structure my questions differently, given that I think there's some very basic questions, to be very honest, on both sides of the aisle.